Good morning, children. So, today I am going to tell you about the summary of the chapter The Portrait of a Lady by Kushwant Singh. Yesterday we had the about the author note, and today it's the explanation about the chapter. So, Kushwant Singh begins the story by presenting a vivid description of his grandmother, who was old and wrinkled for the past 20 years that the author remembers her. Seeing her present condition, it's very difficult for him to accept that his grandmother was once a young, pretty young lady and who had even had a husband. She was short and fat and slightly bent. She used to hobble around with one hand resting on her waist and the other telling the beads of her rosary. She had puckered face and her silver locks were scattered. According to the author, she might never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. When the author was young, his parents went to live in the city, leaving him with his grandmother. They were good friends. She used to wake him up, bathe and dress him, and washed and plastered his wooden slate, made breakfast for him, packed food, took it to school, and she would also go along with the author since his school was just attached to the temple. While the children sat in the veranda singing alphabets or prayers, his grandmother sat inside reading scriptures. It was a beautiful experience. After they both were done, they would come home together, and on their way back, they would feed stale chapatis to the dogs every day. The turning point in their friendship came when the writer's parents sent for him because they had gone and settled down in the city. They shared the same room in the city house, but everything else changed. Grandmother no longer accompanied him to school as he went by a motor bus. She took to feeding the sparrows in the courtyard as they would not find any stray dogs over there. Now, the author went to an English medium school and learnt science and Western music. His grandmother did not approve of it as she did not believe in science and considered music as the monopoly of harlots and beggars. She was upset that there was no teaching about God and scriptures. So when Kushwant Singh went to the university, he was given a room of his own. The only common link they had was snapped because now they no longer shared the same room. He had a different room altogether. She hardly left the spinning wheel and took to feed the sparrows in the afternoon. When the author was going abroad for his higher studies, he knew that his grandmother would be upset. She went to the railway station to see him off, but did not say anything. She was engrossed in her prayers. She quietly kissed his forehead, and it was cherished by Kushwant Singh as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between them. But when he came home after 5 years, she met him at the station again. Even on the first day of his arrival, his grandmother's happiest moments were spent with the sparrows. In the evening, she did not pray, but she collected the women of her neighborhood, got an old drum, and sang for several hours the song of warriors' homecoming. The next morning, she was taken ill. The doctor assured him that the fever would go, but his grandmother thought differently. She stopped talking as she felt that her end was near. She lay peacefully in bed, praying and telling the beads of the rosary till a peaceful pallor spread on her face and she died. After her death, her body was laid on the floor, wrapped in a red shroud, and it was surprising to see thousands of sparrows came scattered on the floor around her body and sat silently as if paying the last homage to their favorite person. The author's mother fetched some breadcrumbs and gave it to them, but without touching them, they silently flew away when they carried his grandmother's body at the end. So, this is the end of the chapter, and hope you all have understood everything. And please read the chapter 2, and I will take it personally in our virtual class on Tuesday. Thank you.